JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, February 20th, 9:16 a.m. on this fine morning. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures in the red. Nasdaq's down about 0.5%. S&P down over a third of a percent. Small caps off 1%. Futures at least. Not after, they were already slightly in the red, but then you had PCE data coming in slightly hotter than expected, and then GDP data, the fourth quarter GDP coming in substantially lower than expectations. I think it was a 2.9, 3.1 to 1.4. I don't know what the exact. Well, I don't have the numbers here. Of course, they're right up here. Well, 3.0 expected, 1.4 actual. So you get second and third reads on revisions on those. It's a somewhat backward looking number, right? Because you're talking about the three months ago of that. Well, 3 months of the end of the year, right? So data not from December, October, November, December. Needless to say, the GDP data has been strong, and that was kind of like the selling point for cutting rates, right? Because typically you don't cut rates, and while the economy's strong and inflation is high, right? So that kind of was that okay? We can still cut rates, or what have you. But anyway, in a nutshell, how's this going to get spun? To me, the Fed doesn't meet again. I think it's 3.5 weeks, right? So I think it's like 26 days. There's like a less than a 10% probability that they're going to cut rates. At least the market's pricing in. So maybe that'll get pushed up a little bit. And then we'll see how the markets trade here today. So SPY all the way down to 677, I think was the low of this week. So that's kind of want to see that hold. That would be kind of my line in the sand where I'll get some later dated puts. Hopefully we don't have to visit that today. We'd love to see a reversal day, right? We get some weakness at the open. You get the bears coming out, sniff themselves, thinking this is it, and then we get some kind of reversal. If not, then I might get a little more cautious. Also today, I forgot to put it on the watch list. Today is Supreme Court opinion day, right? They might come out with some kind of update on tariffs, some ruling, some opinion or whatever. They might not, right? And then I think the next dates are next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So I don't know how much is baked into the market in regards to that. Is it going to be a huge surprise? What happens if the tariffs are ruled legal, right? I mean, what is that? I don't even, quite honestly, it's like heads tails here. What the market does, we could have a 2% pull, right, or we can have a 2% rally. I really don't know. So I mean, that's what's a little scary here. To me, I'll be watching closely because if there's a ruling, there's some moves. I definitely want to make sure I get it or try to get ahead of some of the names that might have some rallies, like the RHs and Ws. Those might have some positive reactions, right? Yeah, so that's just stuff to pay attention to today. Funny, I always look at Market Watch for my morning comedic relief. Today was the Goldilocks signal, right? And it's like, what other signals they have? We have the Hindenburg omen. There's all these different little signals. And today's the Goldilocks signal. And I guess that's when all the economic data is kind of perfect, right? They talk about stagflation, right? When you have periods of high inflation and no growth, right? That's not good. So right now, I guess when you have decent growth with inline inflation, that's like a Goldilocks scenario. I don't know. All right. It's overall markets. So that's why you're watching here today. If there is some weakness, 677 or so, if that breaks, I'll be looking at some puts. And I talked about it the last couple of days. The financial is probably an area that hasn't had a lot of selling. That'd be a spot where I would look for some inexpensive put hedges to JP Morgan's, even some FAS calls possibly. And then also Visa and MasterCard. And I got those Visa puts yesterday. It's just a name. It's just, like you look at the chart on Visa. I'll have the chart in a second. It looks like it's just starting to sell, and then maybe I'll get some continuation. Anyway, all right. So overall markets, SPY just broke under 682 here. The VIX, has been elevated. I don't know if I have my VIX chart here. Do I have my VIX chart? Yeah. So if you take a look at the VIX, it's not like there's huge swings, but it's like in an uptrend, right? And not that you want to see the VIX in up, but it's like a slow and steady move. Even when we had the rallies this week, the VIX was still around 20. So all right. That's overall markets. Just quick on some individual names. I did my little venting session yesterday afternoon, trying to find names I can get convicted in. It's been a struggle this week, and I, anybody who says they know the market perfect to time entries and exits, like they're lying to you, right? If that was easy to do, it's not, right. Nobody knows where the markets go. It's just what you try to do is get the market to be in your favor, find trends, find support resistance on charts, fundamentals, sympathy moves, all those different things are at play, right? News events, things that people don't see, filings. So all that together, hopefully you can find get an edge on the market, right? how I look at it. So hopefully I find some names over the next couple of days. Obviously, you know the names I've been trying to trade for upsides: the SolarEdge, Enphase, um, your line. I got those Align calls 2 weeks ago. Those paid off. That's a name I'll be watching. Anyway, all right. So individual names first, just really quick on the line. After his consolidation from earnings, so the gap up, I had those calls and it had that reversal last. I think it was last Friday or Thursday, and then it slowly melted to the upside this week. Another name I'll be watching. Their blackout period from their buyback is over, right? So it's typically 5 days post an event, post earnings. So they might have some news on an accelerated buyback program. If that happens, it's over $200. Premiums are inexpensive right now. The spreads are wide. They were wide when I was in the calls earlier. But don't be surprised if I finally get back in. I shouldn't say finally, but get back in on that one. I got those Roblox calls yesterday. I was actually looking at weekly strikes. Thankfully, I didn't get the weeklies. I got for next week higher highs, higher lows, maybe setting up here. It does have the backdrop of it's just not an environment for gaming companies that have kids as part of their platform, right? That's how they make their money. When you have countries putting the nicks on social media accounts for kids and teenagers, Roblox, one of those that always is front and center when it's the argument about parenting and all that stuff. So because of that, it creates some possible headwinds or clouds around a company. So in one half, it's a negative, but the other half, it creates opportunity, right? And take a look at the stock down from 140 just in November. I think some of it's the software sell-off, right, which is mind-boggling to me, and the other is maybe the concern around possible other risks of other countries shutting down Roblox or what have you. But monster earnings 2 weeks ago, and it sold off from that. Could do what Shopify's done recently. I think it has a nice move to the upside. 50-day moving average 77 and change. So don't be surprised if I add some more strikes if it has some follow through here today. That's Roblox. Reddit, just Reddit goes into one of those names that's just similar to Lemonade, right? It's just this might go down to $100, right? I just it's like uh, mind-boggling to think at the start of the year, it's a $260 stock, right? I just what has changed since then on Reddit? Nothing's changed overall. Fundamentally, the company is growing faster than the start of the year, right? If you got an update from the company, it has huge growth. It's profitable. They announced a monster buyback. So all these positive catalysts, and here's a stock off 100%, well, 50% from its high. So it needs to go nearly 100% to get back to where it was. Just so, sometimes it's frustrating to waste time thinking about because maybe the market's just saying, okay, we're going to revalue that sector. I don't know, or re-rate the stocks or whatever it is, but I'm not going to sit here and try and time the bounce. At some point, it's going to have one. I just don't know if it's going to be at $100. It's going to be at 140. So I got those 160 calls, locked some of those in to cover costs with some profits, and then, got out of position with small profits. And then I'll continue to watch that one. I was looking at the 150s yesterday. Thankfully, I didn't pull the trigger there. But if we do get a bounce reversal here today, that'll be another name I'm watching. So that's Reddit. Other names, I keep talking about Corning too, right? Corning's got a bull flag set up, GLW. It just frustrating to watch as well. Let's see here. Because every time it looks like it's going to break out, sellers come in, and then the premiums make it tough to get an entry either way. So even if it does have a move and breakout over that 130, 135, I think it's 137, it's all-time high. It's going to be tough to trade, but I'll be watching that one. It has a bull flag. I don't know why I don't have my chart up here. Do I have it? There's Reddit, there's Visa. Okay. Oh, okay. And then here's Visa, right? And I don't know why I don't have my longer dated chart, but I was, here it is. Sorry about that, folks. We got about 5 minutes to the open, so I just want to get off in a second. But I got those Visa spec lottos. If we do have some kind of pull and it starts pulling down some of these other names, the JP Morgan, I got those lotto puts last week on JP Morgan. It's not pricing any kind of sell-off. So if we do have a move 3% down on JP Morgan, it's going to make some of the far out on money calls up 100%, 200%, 300%. And then finally it gets that pull, then the pricing will come into the put. So to be in before that move is going to be key, but are we going to get that move? We'll find out here today, especially if the market finds some footing. And then if the tariff ruling comes out and there's some moves and I'm able to get on audio while things are moving, I'll try and get on. But I'm definitely going to have RH up on my main screen to try and get in if there's some kind of swings in the name, just because it's going to be hard to get fills after the move. So I might have some limits in. Take a look at RH. It was 230, 240 back in January on the tariff news. I'm not saying it gets there. They had some updates with the company. So hang on. Yeah. So maybe positive reaction to a ruling, 215, 220, and depending on what the strikes are. Anyway, let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.